now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Naomi Coles. A massive step ahead this week for COVID vaccinations across the country, with the CDC approving Pfizer vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds. We're here to answer questions that parents might have today. I'm joined by Dr. Bill Hartman with UW Health. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So I think one of the first questions we have, what should parents of children with health concerns or long-term conditions know about this vaccine?
Well, in terms of the vaccine itself, the overwhelming evidence that we have at this point from the millions, if not billions, of people that have been vaccinated with Pfizer worldwide, as well as with the clinical trials looking at the children here in the United States, the evidence shows that this is a very safe and a very effective vaccine at preventing COVID-19, but more importantly, preventing severe illness from COVID-19. Very, very effective in these children. And in kids with pre-existing conditions or long-standing conditions, they really should be excited that this vaccine is available, but also discuss this with their pediatrician or their family practitioner so that they have all of their questions answered, and they know that when they're getting that vaccine, this is the safest and most effective means that they can prevent themselves from getting COVID-19.
And it's kind of a follow-up to that, and I suspect what your answer might be, but for a child with a pre-existing condition like that, is it better for a parent to, say, take their child into a clinic, into their provider to get the vaccine, rather than, for example, what we're seeing is having them vaccinated at school?
I would think so. I would think that it's always, with any child who has any sort of medical condition that would put them at risk, having the vaccine administered in a hospital or a clinic where they have equipment to handle any sort of emergency is always the safest way to go.
How many parents do we think we're going to see, say, holding back at first, waiting to see what the effects are for other children, even parents that may have gotten vaccinated themselves but are nervous about a vaccine for very young children?
Well, the most recent data that was put out by the Kaiser Family Foundation showed that only about a third of all parents are willing to step up right now and get their children vaccinated. Another third say that they're never going to get their kids vaccinated with these vaccines. But then there's that middle ground, that middle third that wants to wait and see and make sure that there's no ill effects that pop up in those first couple of months. And then they'll get their child vaccinated.
Now, do we expect that there's going to be a crunch in demand right off the bat, kind of like we saw, say, when the vaccine first rolled out for adults, where there's, say, not enough vaccines for everyone who wants one? Or do we think that because of where we're at now with vaccine rollout, that there's going to be a vaccine for, say, every parent who wants one for their child?
I would think that our supply is at the place right now where there will be a vaccine available for every child that wants one, or every parent that wants it for their child. They're going to be at doctors' offices, at pharmacies throughout the country, and the supply should be in a very good spot. We're in a very different spot than we were a year ago when vaccines were first starting to roll out, and we still had to ramp up production. We're not at that place anymore. We have ample supply here in the United States, and the government has guaranteed that they've purchased enough vaccine for every child in this age group to be vaccinated.
Could you talk a bit about why these doses are based on a child's age rather than size? So, for example, a parent that might have a larger 11-year-old who feels, hey, maybe they should have a 12-year-old size vaccine. What would you say to them?
They've looked at this vaccine at different doses in different age groups. And they've tried to determine what's the lowest possible dose with the highest maximum effect of getting as many antibodies as you can. And at this 1/3 dose that is being administered to children up to age 11, the antibodies generated are very similar, even maybe exceeding a little bit the antibody levels from the Pfizer vaccine that was administered to teenagers and young adults. And so even though it is a lower dose vaccine, that really is going to contribute to the overall safety profile of this vaccine, but also it has very minimal effect on the overall effect of that vaccine altogether.
That's very useful information. Are there any other questions that you think would be important to address for parents right now as they weigh this decision?
Well, I think that the most important thing for all parents is to realize that it's okay to have questions and that it's okay to be a little weary right off the bat. But know that those of us in the medical community are very excited. I'm very excited to get my own daughter vaccinated. This is something that is going to protect the kids as they go to school and protect our communities. Overall, these vaccines, very, very safe, very effective, and we're very excited that they're being rolled out to this age group.
All right, Dr. Hartman, thank you so much for taking some time today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
When we come back, politics, what Virginia gubernatorial results this week say about Wisconsin next year.
Hello, I'm Roman Ryan of Ryan Funeral Homes. As a locally owned and operated funeral home, it's important to know that not all funeral homes are the same. Some other Madison area funeral homes are actually owned by corporations based outside of the United States. A corporately owned funeral home is focused on the bottom line, making services more costly. We have served local families for more than 80 years, and our priority is investing in the community and your family. In your time of need, Ryan Funeral Homes are here for you.
Those brave men and women of our armed forces, generations of them. Why should today's burdens fall back onto them? They were there for us. Now let's be there for them. Your local Wisconsin energy providers and the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund are working together to deliver Wisconsin veterans in crisis heat, power, and help staying in their home. But they can't do it alone. Call to donate today.
Monona Plumbing and Fire Protection, a name you can trust when service is a must.
Monona Plumbing and Fire Protection is here 24 hours a day.
7 days a week for all your residential and commercial plumbing services.
From installation, repairs, and maintenance to complete sewer and drain cleaning, we've got you covered.
Visit MononaPFP.com.
Monona Plumbing and Fire Protection, a name you can trust when service is a must.
Is your credit score getting in the way of the things you want to do? Personal loans through NetCredit offer fast and flexible lending. Borrow up to $10,000 and choose repayment terms that work for you. You may even be able to build your credit history as you repay. NetCredit, a more personal loan.
When the hands that do the fixing need fixing. When the hands that do the caring need caring. That's a job for O'Keeffe's Working Hands. It's America's #1 selling hand cream and guaranteed relief for extremely dry, cracked hands. Also available in O'Keeffe's for healthy feet.
Welcome back to For the Record. A new Marquette Law School poll released this week shows the results of a new statewide survey. It looked at state politics 1 year before the 2022 elections, particularly for Governor Evers and U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Poll director Charles Franklin says the results are a sign of a grumpy electorate.
These two potential candidates, incumbents, do face some challenges, a difficult electoral landscape right now.
For the governor, the poll found 40% of registered voters said they would vote to re-elect Governor Evers, while 53% said they would vote for someone else. And for U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, only 38% of respondents said they would vote for him again, and 52% saying they would vote for somebody else. Those poll numbers spell danger for Evers next year, but perhaps even more. So does this week's victory of a Republican governor candidate in Virginia, a swing state. I spoke with people who have spent years shaping Wisconsin politics behind the scenes. And here's what both parties say about next fall.
Wow.
Tell me what last night's results in Virginia mean or don't mean for Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers next year.
We always knew this was going to be a tough election cycle.
We need to get the Build Back Better Act passed.
It's really important to focus on kitchen table issues.
Clearly a shot across the bow.
Virginia's capital is nearly 1,000 miles away from where I'm standing right now. Dating back to 2002, 4 out of the last 5 of their governors were Democrats. Like us, Virginia is a famed swing state, and Republican strategists see Youngkin's win as a bellwether for Evers.
If he doesn't bring forward a forward-looking message that people can grab onto, he's going to struggle.
Poll members in Wisconsin today line up with that, but
I don't think you can be too quick to jump to where one side's going or where the other side's going.
For Democrats, the biggest reason for hope is last night's failure of an attempted recall of 4 Mequon-Thiensville school board members. I've said it before. Championed by frontrunner GOP governor candidate Rebecca Clayfish, with race issues at the center.
When extremism was on the ballot in Wisconsin, it was defeated pretty soundly.
Voters rejected that kind of radical politics in the Badger State, and not in a particularly Democratic-leaning area.
Republicans say Youngkin won in Virginia because he kept his platform close to home.
But there's a lot of truth to it, and that is all politics are local.
They hope suburbs that moved away from Trump last fall now show signs of returning next year.
Those are temporary shifts, and I think that Virginia foreshadows that for us.
This weekend, Wisconsin Democrats begin their own resurgence.
Don't mourn, organize.
With the goal of 100,000 voters reached this weekend with door knocking and phone banks.
We've got to pour everything we've got into this fight.
You can recap these conversations online at channel3000.com. Thanks for joining me today. Safe and healthy week.
This has been For the Record.